𝐬𝐿𝐮𝐚𥥥, and welcome back to my channel. So, as y'all can see, we are back with Our Life Now and Forever. I was just coming on to like my Steam to record the next episode of Art Beginnings and Always, and I saw they updated it, and I'm like, holy crap, y'all, we need to do this today. Yeah, we're gonna be doing this today. There's apparently over 25,000 new words, so we will be doing this for at least a couple episodes. So I hope you guys, I hope you guys enjoy it. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe and share this video with your friends so they can find out about my amazing challenge just like you have right now. So yeah, let's get into it. I hope you enjoy. Continue after several months. Okay, so we left off. Yeah, we were making friends with, no. Oh my god. Someone told me how to say, hold on. Someone also told me how to say, cues. I'm sorry. That's how I say it right now. Sorry. Hold on. I'm going to look on my phone. Hold on. Someone told me how to say it. I need to find the comment. Yeah. It is pronounced similarly to chew, but you don't pronounce the H as much. So, oh Lord, I'm sorry, I'm gonna mess this up, y'all. Y'all have known, if you guys have watched like my previous videos, you know I cannot say his name for the life of me, and so many people have helped me. Thank you for like helping me. I cannot pronounce his name though. Chew? No, you don't say the H as much. I'm sorry. I need my Google Translate. I'm sorry. Y'all, I need my Google Translate. Okay, and this isn't even the video. Like, come on. English. What am I doing? Okay, here. Okay, wait. I'm gonna turn it up. Wait. How do I play it?
Chew.
That's what I was trying to say. Chew. Okay. Alright, let's see if I can stick with this. Chew. Wait.
Chew.
Yeah, chew. Okay. Thank you, Google Translate. Chew. Okay. So, yeah, Chew, he like went away from what I remember with other friends, and that made me sad. I was mad about that. But oh my god, we sat with Tamarack. Wait. And we're pulling out Google Translate for this too, because I'm messing up this.
Tamarack.
Okay, I'm gonna call her Tammy or something. I don't know. Tamarack. I think I'm. So, chew. Wait. Can't type for the life of me. Chew. Yeah, I'm saying it right. I need to stop overthinking it. But yeah, we left off here after several minutes of me doing that. But yeah, now we're with Tamarack. So, we were talking to the teacher. Someday you were going to be popular too. Chew might have had a head start, but you could catch up. Not looking at her didn't stop your teacher from trying to talk to you. 𝐬𝐿𝐮𝐷, I'm sure once in your seat, you'll get used to it. Soon you won't want to be anywhere else. Actually, I want to see if my details. Wait. Has any of this changed? Why is my nickname Sharky? Oh my god, I use my star stable. Can I change this? No. Yeah. And if not, you can come talk to me about it. Yes, Mrs. Murray. She didn't talk the desk up anymore. It was gonna have to win you over on its own or not. So, Mrs. Murray had to wait for you and Tamarack to stop your shared stares of surprise, and then she pointed across the floor to a couple of desks near the back that were side by side. Oh my god. Sorry. Those are yours. Tamarack's is closest to the wall, and 𝐬𝐿𝐮𝐷, yours is the one next to that. Window seat. I'm gonna sit at the window seat. Hold on. I need to put this up against my door. Alright. Whew. Tamarack happily sung herself a simple song about her brand new desk. Besides the roll call, there won't be any surprises. It will be a regular, easy first day of class. Thank you for having a chat with me. You can take your seats. Tamarack's cheeks inflated, and she pushed a smile between the two balls of air. Aww. Okay, let's go, Mishka. Bye. Oh my God. Shut up. God. The teacher stayed resting up against her desk while you and Tamarack went towards your own seats. Tamarack sent quick, excited glances from the desk and back to you over and over as you walked towards them. She chattered about how it was going to be so fun being right next to each other and all the things you could do during the year. She beamed so bright it was like her sparkly golden hair made the sunshine that filled the room. Aww. But the grin you had on your face had to be as gleaming. The two of you might burn the place down. Heck yeah, because we're besties, y'all! A clap and a call came from where you just left. Attention students, class is starting, take your seats. Just like she says she would, Mrs. Murray was beginning the lesson. You were right in front of your assigned group of desks when she said it. The red plastic chair Mrs. Murray had pointed out before was probably really old, but it was brand new to you. You pulled it out from the tables and gave sitting in it a try. Hard, cold, and slippery smooth, and the back part wasn't straight. It bent away from the bottom seat part. It felt like leaning against the top of a shiny slide on the playground. If you weren't paying attention, you might fall right off. Maybe that was the point. That was a way to keep kids focused. Tamarack was right there next your left side, by the wall on the window, just like she wanted. Past her, you could see the rustling treetops outside with their golden leaves fall all bunched together. They kind of look like Tamarack's puffy hair, but not as sparkly. Hold on, I'm going to put my phone on charge because it's dead. Or it almost is. And it needs a charge. Alright. She plopped her huge, jingling pack on the desk. The actual bag barely fit, and she had a bundle at the strap on top so that it wasn't sneaking over into someone else's workspace. The tips of her rain boots were pressed against the dark blue carpet, and she tapped her heels together. It made the shoes squeak. She was excited for her own little place in the room. Wait. What? Fuck? Okay. There we go. I don't know why that was out. Okay, sorry. Mishka, we're gonna be right here for the rest of the year. I know, the teacher just told us. Tamarack patted her hands against the thick fabric of the bag and jiggled in time with the hits. She stayed pretty busy making a beat. You glanced out at the room ahead of you where the important boards and teacher were. Chu was there too in the very first row of seats. Did I say that right? Hopefully I did. Chu. Sorry, I'm trying. It wasn't the same spot he'd been in before. You saw him talking to some people, but those other classmates he was sitting with were just as happy to have him there. He was hanging one of his arms across the top edge of his chair and was settled in so snugly he looked like a heavy blanket that had been thrown over it. He moves his head to the side to rest his cheek against his stretch-out shoulder. Chu. Oh my god, I'm gonna be struggling with this all throughout this whole playthrough. Chu somehow made himself sit even more relaxedly. When that happened, he noticed you behind him. Autumn firmly pressed down his eyebrows and pushed his mouth open a little. He wasn't there when you learned you and Tamarack would be together, and he wouldn't be there with you now. He found out. He only looked that way long enough for him to notice that you had noticed his expression. Oh, wait, so is he, like, mad about that? Wait. He wasn't... Wait. Okay, sorry, I'm, like... Oh, so what? Is he jealous? Then your friend, house neighbor, and not seat neighbor sweetly smiled instead. Choose. What am I doing? Okay. Chew. Chill. Oh, I can't. Chew. Choose. Chew and chew. Well, I sound stupid, don't I? Yeah. Choose deep brown-eyed gaze darted over to Mrs. Murray, directing your attention to her. His eyes kept moving right into a dramatic roll that went all the way around. It wasn't hard to imagine him saying teachers, huh? Or something like that. For a minute, you could picture what it would have been like if he had been right next to you. Why can't he? I'm mad about that, honestly. But he couldn't face you forever. It was class time, and you were left staring at the tiny ponytail on the back of his head again. It was okay. You weren't going to let seating spots ruin your life. Mrs. Murray patiently waited for people to get settled. Every seat had a kid in it, and final words were said before the room faded into a short silence. That's when things changed from you being just someone in some room to a student who had to listen to a lesson. Hello, class. Thank you all for being here today, and welcome to your first day of 5th grade. She gave a round of applause. Normally, the people sitting and watching were the ones who clapped for the person standing in the front, but you guessed Mrs. Murray did things differently. We're going to have a lot of fun this year, and you'll learn a lot, too. But also, you're the big kids on campus now, so I'm counting on you to set a good example for the rest of the students here, all right? Yes, Mrs. Murray. Around half the class answered her. Part was in a loud cheer, and others were bored grumbles. The teacher accepted both moods warmly. Thank you. Let's start with roll call then. She crossed past the desk to get a folder off the little cubbies in the corner. She got that and left her stiff brown jacket behind. The teacher flipped through the folder. Oh my god. The teacher flipped the folder open as she stepped back into the center spot. The cozy sweater made everything about her seem softer. You know the story. I'm going to shout everyone's name in alphabetical order, first name first. When I call your name, raise your hand and say, "Here, Mrs. Murray, I'm so excited and happy to be at school with you today." That time, almost the whole class started to chatter. There were snickers shared between friends, whiny outcries of, "We can't do that," and someone even booed. Okay, just here will work, and now I know you're listening. Her soft voice had a jovial kick. She had fun with her job. Let's begin. Your first name started with M. It would probably be a while before she'd call on you. That was kind of cool. You didn't have to go right away, but wouldn't have to wait forever either. Mrs. Murray went through each of the A kids, and it just kept going from there. Then you were next. You knew not just because she was on your first name letter, but because her keen eyes were on you before she even said anything. Mishka Rose. Oh my god, why couldn't I just said something else? I'm not here, Mrs. Murray. You were the one to get a response from the class that time. Hushed chuckles came from the clusters of other kids. The teacher gave her approval with a nod. You sat up tall in your seat after a job well done. The roll call rolled on after your turn. Chu-Lin. Okay. Mr. Chu-Lin didn't really raise his hand. He just popped a thumbs up from his laid-back lean. Here, Mrs. Murray. That worked, though, and your teacher moved on. Tamarack 𝐕𝐢𝐬𝐮. Tamarack's arms shot up in record time. It had already been wound up and ready for that moment. I'm Tamarack, that's me. Yes, our bestie is here. It wasn't exactly what she was supposed to say, but Tamarack got an A for effort. Mrs. Murray continued with the last of the names. Once every person in a stiff red seat had a turn to say they were there, Mrs. Murray gave you and Tamarack a real introduction to the class, the one she had warned you would be coming. It talked about how you just moved to town and what people were supposed to call you and everything. Mrs. Murray must have asked your mama, Tamarack's Omi and Opa, to know all that. You appreciated that she went to all that work so the other kids would know you. That was the end of the not really teaching us anything except names part of class. Mrs. Murray took a paper in the folder out of the flap and moved it over to the other side. Please take out your pencils and notebooks now. I'll be going over our plans for the year and what will be expected of all my students. I'm just gonna say your mom. I don't know why I picked that. Your mom had packed a fresh notebook with perfectly smooth pages that didn't have a single smudge for you to use. You might grab something to mark it up if you needed to. It was a plain old pen. Oh no, do a gel pen. You gripped it tight in your right hand. Tamarack leaned over her bag to be as close as possible. Her eyes were squinted and set right on Mrs. Murray. She started clicking her shoes together again, even faster than before. If her legs be any quicker, she might turn into a one-girl powered motor and drive the desks around the room. Tamarack was definitely eager to get the information being told, but there wasn't a single piece of paper or pencil anywhere on her desk to take notes. Maybe she only had to listen to know. Over at the other group of the tables, Chu's face was pressed against his right fist that he had propped up against the desk. He was writing slow, lazy lines with his left hand in a plain spiral notebook. It wasn't his special one. That was your neighbors, and then there was you. School was so simple you didn't need to even really think about it. Mrs. Murray talked about the subject she'd be covering, upcoming holidays and activities, the way students would be graded, school rules, and even more. You weren't sure she'd ever stop having new things to tell everyone about until she cut herself off. She said something about when parent-teacher conferences might happen and just paused there. Chu? Chu? You snuck a glance away from the front to him. You couldn't help it. Oh. He totally lost that droopy pose. Instead, Autumn was hunched over a page, and it was from his special notebook then, and he was scribbling in a hurry. Yeah? The answer was as breezy as ever. He didn't try to sound like a student being called out by a teacher. He was polite enough to pull himself up to look at the person speaking to him. Am I going too fast, or is there anything I can do differently? You've been very uncomfortable. The pencil dropped and clattered on the desk. Both Chu's hands hovered over the piece of paper. He stared at it unsurely, as if he didn't know if it was suddenly too hot to touch or not. For a minute, Chu didn't know what to do. He blinked and then he started to talk again, slowly, thoughtfully. No, it's alright. He leaned fully over against his chair again and threaded his fingers together primly while placing them over the page. From your spot in the back, you could see the edge of an easy smile on the side of his face, and even if you couldn't, you would have been able to hear the smirk in his voice. I wasn't writing down what you were talking about. I'll get to that later. Don't worry over it. Eyes went wide at his boldness, and a few kids were brave enough themselves to giggle at Chu's comeback. Mrs. Murray's usual smile was faint, but it was there. Well, let me know if you change your mind. I will, thanks. She stopped a little break there and tapped her folder with the back of her hand to get the students' attention once more. Nothing but normal school stuff happened for the rest of the time. It was a lot like your old classes in other places. Golden Grove didn't have a secret way of teaching kids that the rest of the country had never heard of. You figured it would be that way, but seeing a regular lesson happen made it clear what you'd be dealing with. And just like all the classes you'd had before, that one was over eventually. But before the teacher let anybody get up, Mrs. Murray went all around the room to drop piles of paper on the few different groups of desks. She explained how they were stacks of homework sheets and everyone had to take one packet with them and bring it back finished tomorrow. She then said bye to the students and it was okay to leave. She was your new nemesis! Oh my god! She's the best, honestly. It was going to be good to see her again the next day and the day after that. Right next to you, the spell that kept Tamarack totally locked onto Mrs. Mary during class broke. The teacher went over to her desk and Tamarack turned to you. She stared at the gel pen in your hand. Actually, it was the opposite. She was looking at the hand that was holding the gel pen. I used my right hand too. We're the same again. Yay, same hands. Oh my god. And then Tamarack wasn't talking about hands anymore. That was finished according to her. This time, it really was the gel pen itself that had her attention. She poked it with a finger. I like your gel pen. I have more. You can borrow some sometime. Thank you, but how would I use it? Oh yeah, she didn't write in class. Do you not know how to write? Maybe you could take it with you to use for homework. Maybe. Tamarack started to hum and got to work on buckling the two front straps of her bag. Hey, how come you didn't write stuff down in class? She simply kept tugging on the clasps to unhook them carefree. I wouldn't read any of that. The buckles clicked open. She flipped the top flap over and in went one of the homework packets, closing it all back up, followed right after. That was all she had to put away because she hadn't taken anything out of the bag for the whole class. She pulled the bag closer to her and wiggled herself under the strap. There was only one thing left before she was set. Tamarack bounced out of her chair and the heavy bag settled across her shoulder with a rattle. Come on, Mishka! She made a dash to the coat rack where her pink scarf was waiting. Before leaving, you remembered to take the homework packet and tucked it away in the inner pocket of your bag. Nothing else was forgotten either. You put all your things back where you'd taken them from. You even brushed off the stray pencil, shavings, and eraser bits that had gotten on your side thanks to the other kids in your table group. The desk was all nice and clean when you finished. But as soon as you got up to leave, you couldn't because someone called for you. Hey, Sharky! Oh my god. I pray someone in the dev team for this game will let me change my nickname or adding one for that fact. Please, just add an option where I can change stuff, please. Because I don't like it. You checked behind you and there was Chu coming up from the front of the class. He was waving with a piece of tan brown lined paper in his hand. Did you drop a paper again, you teased? Sharky, you are funny, but you're about to feel silly. But it's good you're here. I've got stuff to say, okay? Though, I guess I could have told you even if you had gone. We live in the same neighborhood. It sounded like even Chu struggled to wrap his head around the idea that the two of you were strangers about a day ago, and now we're people who were going to be seeing each other all the time. There was a soft crinkle as Chu tapped the edge of his special paper against his right palm again and again. You stopped being able to hear it when Chu started to ramble, though he kept doing it. Okay, so this paper. Here's what happened. I was talking to my mom and dad about it yesterday, back when it was still yesterday, and I realized something. He flapped both his arms out wide. Autumn was acting as blown away as he must have been when he first learned the thing he was trying to explain. Tamarack finding my paper and sending it to you wasn't just some unexpected, unexplainable thing that we wonder about. It was sucky. What it was? Yes! With drama and emotion, Chu whipped his arms up and down in rapid gestures. He needed you to feel what he was feeling, which turned out to be what he imagined you had been feeling before. You got a paper airplane with a message that had your name and everything. That's exciting. It had to mean something. But then it wasn't a message for you. It was an accident. Whoa, that's the biggest letdown I can even imagine. He had been flying the page around like it was another paper airplane, but he finally let it rest for a second when his arms dropped. All his bluster became only a sigh. If you were going to get a note from me, it should have had something to say to you. That's what I thought of when I thought about it more. Oh, now I get it. That wasn't the end of the story, though. It was a prologue. Autumn sprung back into action and raised his left arm with the page pressed between his thumb and the rest of his outstretched fingers. And so, I've got something for you. God, you are so sweet. I love you. He shook the paper in his hand, grinning cheekily. There was no way not to get what he meant and what was supposed to be for you. You wrote me a note? That's right. Autumn swished his paper one more time to bring it down low enough for you to take. Oh, but is he taller than us? You excitedly seized the note from his hand. The page in your fingers was exactly like what you'd remember from the plain one. Somehow tougher and softer than regular paper, and that same light brown color. But when you read the message, the words scribbled on it were all different from the first time. Aww. Welcome to the neighborhood. Ah, that's so sweet. Welcome to the neighborhood from 𝐕𝐢𝐬𝐮𝐚𝐥 this time, actually. That's what was written in big clear letters. Stars and a smiley face crowded out any plain spots the words hadn't covered. It was careful work. The little extra line on the Q was a fancy curve that he didn't even draw the stars from corner to corner. There weren't lines through the middle of them. The difference between a note you wanted somebody to see and the one you got by accident was huge. Some blurry thing came up past the top edge of the paper. You blinked, distracted, then squinted over the page to figure out what was going on in the room. It was true, high on his tiptoes. He was watching you read the note, smirking, hands tucked behind his back, and all around very pleased with himself. It's pretty good, huh? Oh my god, you actually put effort into that? Oh my god. There's so many options. Yeah, no, it's great. Wait, hold on. I wanna... Wait. Thank you. I'll keep this forever. Wait, okay, so they're all the same thing. No. Oh my god, there's so many good options. Come on. This is the best thing I've ever gotten. Chu was already standing as tall as he could, but what you said still uplifted him even more through his eyebrows and the corners of his mouth. Oh my god. That loop-sized smile grew until it was dazzlingly full. His arms tensed around himself like a heart-squeezing heart inside his chest. Oh my god! Wow, glad I decided to do it. You gave one more glance at the message Chu had written for you. It was still there, welcoming you to your new neighborhood every time you saw it. When you looked at Chu himself again, he finally dropped his feet and hands back to where they normally were. He waited there to see if you were going to do anything else. Can we give him a hug? Is this what you were writing down in class? Nope, I came up with that way before. I had other stuff I needed to write down. What was it really? I can't tell you about all of it, but one thing is that I was putting down where everybody's seats were. I had to write it where I could see people sitting around their spots. Chu talked fast and firm while jabbing the tip of a finger into his left palm just as fervently. He was good at lecturing someone who was in the 5th grade. Well, was I supposed to do that after class when everyone was gone, Mrs. Murray? No, I have reasons for things. Oh, that makes sense. Good. God. Even though Chu was the last one talking, he abruptly sliced a hand through the air to get what was the conversation out of the way and have it be about something else. But wait, before I forget, I gotta tell you, I'm impressed, Sharky. The first day's gotta be the hardest when you're new and you didn't even break a sweat in class. His hands were on his hips in a commanding pose as he talked energetically. Nothing was held back. You didn't feel smaller next to his bright presence, and you don't think that's what he was trying to do. Chu was starting to know you better, and it was making him look at you differently. You could handle it. I'm glad you were here. What? I didn't do anything. It was you. Oh, oh my god. He closed his eyes and snickered while thinking some kind of thought. He stretched and curled his fingers to feel out the way his gloves were fitting. Chew pinched at the edge to straighten them out better. Anyway, you and Tamarack are in the back next to each other, huh? Mrs. Murray is smart, just sometimes too smart for me. Chew, are you popular? With a huge smile, Chew swung his arms open wide. Yeah, of course. He acted like it was obvious, and it kind of was. You already knew. The paper crinkled in your hand. You've been gripping it the whole time. You twisted away to pull the zip on your bag. The welcome message you got from Chew went right next to the packet of homework Mrs. Murray had given you. Chew giving you a paper reminded you that you had one you could give to him, too. You gave him the paper he dropped before class. Your bag was already open from putting away the newest paper, so you just stuck your hand into it again. The backpack couldn't be zipped all the way or everything would fall out. You only made a hole big enough for reaching around inside. Luckily, the paper from Chew's special notebook wasn't anything like the homework from Mrs. Murray. You didn't have to look to know it. You could tell it just by touching. But you did have to worry about mixing up the page that was yours to keep and the one that wasn't. You had to stick your face against the cold, bummy zipper track to read what cottony paper you had before you were sure you'd gotten it right. Then you looked at Chew again. Remember when I asked if you dropped that paper you gave me? You didn't drop that one, but you did lose this. That's what you said when you held the paper out to him. It worked like a ticket to a time machine because you saw the exact same thing you did yesterday with Chew gasping, flailing his hands and all of it. Wait, what was on it? I don't remember. Both his hands smacked against his chest, pressing it back while his head, shoulders, and eyes darted out in total shock. You've got another one? He squished himself so much that the next question could only come out as a bashful peep. That's the paper from yesterday, right? The one Tamarack found? You glanced at the paper for a second and then back at Chew. The side with the words was the one you had up. He could read at least some of the message, even if it was a little bent in your hand. But you guessed it was still a shot, and Chew didn't want to miss the tiny chance he hadn't been caught losing another piece in the notebook. That was exactly what had happened, though. No, it's a different one. Yeah, it looks like it. Aww. Then his stiffness melted away, and Chew stood evenly with his head high again. A grin grew too, same as a flower after winter. You know, Sharky, your sorcery amazes me. You and him broke out into laughter together. Chew losing his papers over and over definitely was not the work of a sorcerer, but it was a lot more fun for both of you that way. Told you I was magic. Chew swept his left palm up towards you, kind of like how somebody might ask for a dance in a movie. He did fancy moves like that a lot, but you liked it. Chew was pretty and cool, even when he just wanted his stuff. You placed the page right there, like the paper was giving him a low five. Chew crossed his right arm over to reach the left pocket of his pants. Out came his well-worn notebook with the pages that barely stayed stuck inside. He flipped it open with his thumb and positioned the missing paper squarely on top of the rest of the set. He ran his now empty fingers over the tattered sides of the book, pressing the corners and edges that had been sticking out mostly back into straight lines. Then Autumn flicked his wrist to close the notebook, dropped it back in his pocket, and patted the side of his pants fondly. That's that. You did it. The page made it home. Chew didn't have anything else to say then. You could tell since he wasn't looking at you anymore. His gaze was on the move. He had already seen everything there was to see in the class that looked like all the other classes. At least you thought so, but he did find something that needed his attention in his mind anyway. Oh, she hasn't left either. Wait right there, I've got another thing to do. After cupping his hands around his mouth, Chew called out past you all the way to the other side of the room. Hey Tamarack, get over here, you've got to see this. What is it? You have to look. Oh God. Tamarack bounded across the room faster than an Olympic athlete probably. It would be close at least because she was really speedy. She did a skipping leap for the last foot before reaching 𝐕𝐢𝐬𝐿 and tossed her arm straight as she stuck the landing. The fringed strands of her pink scarf, which she had securely wrapped around her neck again, had flown up and almost tickled her nose. I'm here. Good, check it out. Chu waved urgently for her to come closer with one hand and reached in his right pocket with the other. That wasn't the side he kept the notebook in. He was going for something else. The two leaned in, having a one-on-one huddle. You weren't a part of it, but you could tell what he had by the little glimpse you could catch over his hunched shoulders and the sound of it. It rustled and crinkled, not in a sharp way like leaves, but in a soft, squishy way. She was holding a wadded-up bag, probably from whatever grocery store Golden Grove had. He kept the bag tightly closed, gripping two sides of the top and keeping his fists pressed together. Then he suspiciously looked side to side. No one else would be allowed to see the treasures hidden inside. Tamarack did it too after him, either to double check or to not be left out, or maybe because she didn't want to miss what he might be spotting. Alright, this is it. Suspense pulled in your two neighbors. Tamarack bit the nail of her thumb until he stopped breathing. There was nothing in the world for them right then except the bag and whatever it held. Then, finally, before Tamarack could fall over from no air, Chu parted his hands and stretched open his unusual gift wrapping. Mouth open, eyes wide, Tamarack gawked down into the bag. You figured she'd go wow or something like that, but she just scanned it, whatever it was, up and down with the same eager expression. It was possible she was so blown away her face had gotten stuck like that. That turned out not to be true, because she eventually saw enough for her reaction to slowly begin rumbling inside. First it was with the edges of her lips wobbling, then her eyelashes trembling, and finally her brows pitching fiercely. Tamarack snapped her head up and glanced straight into Chu's awaiting smirk. That's trash! Oh boy, Chu's up to something. What's really in there? A tiny bubble of a snicker popped out from Chu's mouth. Then there was an even louder one. The laughs kept bursting bigger and bigger until he was shaking so bad that whatever was in the bag almost bounced out. It is trash. What? Yeah, it is. I said so. Being heard over Chu's giggling fit could have been a problem, but Tamarack was entirely okay with shouting. Mrs. Murray looked over at the commotion from her fancy teacher's chair. She still had that folder with the roll call paper and class schedule open. Maybe there were no rules once class was out, or maybe this kind of thing was normal with her students, because she didn't tell any of you to quiet down. She just went back to her job stuff. By the time you focused on your neighbors again, Chu had started to calm down. Autumn shook his head and wiped a tear from the corner of his eye, then through heavy breaths he gave a wise, cracking answer. I didn't say this was something you'd want to have, just that you should see it. Why would I want to see your trash? She asked him crossly while crossing her arms to go with it. Chu gathered the handles into one hand and swung the arm up near his chest so the bag hung over his shoulder. The pose would have fit best for someone modeling a purse 5 times more expensive than any your mama owned, and she had really nice ones for work, not a plastic bag full of garbage. I have reasons. I've always got reasons. What are they? The question was cautious, wary of any other tricks Chu might pull, but the curiosity was clear in her voice. Being presented a bag of garbage was okay as long as it had some kind of secret. Well, he paused to rearrange his face into something more serious and nodded thoughtfully. Even though me losing that paper was an unexplainable mystery, I was thinking about how you just got to this town and are already having to pick up after other people to keep the forest clean. That's not fair. Still speaking as a wise mentor, Chu used his other hand to gesture tellingly at the windows. So I decided to go back outside yesterday and check the forest for litter. This is all the stuff I've got so far. He really did have his reasons, and it was exactly like he'd done with you in the note. Chu imagined what Tamarack had probably thought or felt from what happened yesterday, and when it seemed like it could be sad, he did something about it. Tamarack sucked in a gasp of air and let it out as a squeal. Really? You cleaned the woods? I did. All of this went from being on the ground into my trash bag. Wow, that's so nice. She did wow about it, after all. And she also kicked her feet out one after the other in a happy little dance. Her bag just flowed along with her moves like a partner. It was your good idea at first. That could have been humble, but he cocked his chin and grinned so pleased with himself that it really wasn't anymore. Tamarack was too giddy to care or notice. Thanks, Chew. Oh. Oh. Chew was nice to everyone, but you weren't going to be just another person to him. He did something special for you and for Tamarack. It was even. Someday it wouldn't be, and you'd be even more special. Oh my god, the jealousy! The little trio of you, Tamarack and Chew, stayed together, reunited over by the desk while the room became more and more empty of anybody else. After all, besides you three, there was only the teacher left in class. It was empty enough and quiet enough you could hear the doorknob twist and click. That was all that happened, though. You figured someone would come in. You checked behind you. The door was open a crack and a person peeked through. From the tiny bit you could see, the person was a kid, or maybe a short grown-up. They were only half as tall as the door they were hiding behind. It definitely wasn't your mom coming to get you. Mrs. Murray was still flipping through a million papers, but she called out from her desk. It's okay, you can come in. Class is over. Then the door got shoved all the way open and bumped into the wall. After trying not to get noticed, being called out that way made it whoever it was confident. Oh God, who are you? They stood in the doorway and put their hands on their hips. The hair on their head was a helmet of sunshine, orange shining and flaming out in rays everywhere. The person walked right in without looking at what they were seeing. It wasn't the way you or Tamarack came into the class. It was the way Chew had. The way someone who had been there before had. But this wasn't their classroom. None of the students you saw the whole day were this person. In a new school, in a new town, you would have been more amazed if it was somebody you did know. Even though that was true, you almost thought you had met the stranger. The kid's soft brown eyes itched at your brain. You were sure you'd seen his exact kind of eyes somewhere else. It was especially hard to figure it out when their gaze wasn't aimed at you. It had gone to the front where the teacher was. Oh, you remembered. Seeing the new kid and Mrs. Murray made you think of the matching card games you had to play in school when you were little. You just won by flipping over 4 identical chestnuts. The person with eyes like Mrs. Murray ran to her, past the counting carbon behind the desk. They threw their arms around her legs in a hug, squeezing her knees together. Your teacher gently brushed those sunbeam strands until the kid tilted their head back to smile up at Mrs. Murray with a toothy grin. Hi. Hello, sir, 7th grade. Did you have a good first day? Darren. Sir, 7th grade, or Darren, or both, gasped and let go before smiling even wider. Chew? He darted out from the desk just like that. Mrs. Murray watched him go, rubbing at the spots on her pants that got squashed. She was for sure his mom, not just because they hugged, or because of their eyes. Mrs. Murray wouldn't have let a normal student get away with not answering her questions. And you were right. My mom is your teacher? Darren's voice came out bright and loud and with a big laugh, though the sound was kind of crackly too. He had so much to express to the world, words could barely keep it all together. Chew's own sparkling grins joined in. He opened his arms all the way out, not holding anything back. I know! When Darren crossed the room, he stuck his own hand straight ahead, palm up. Chew flipped his arm down and over to land a low 5 smack. It was a powerful hit, but they were both protected by gloves. Chew just shrugged again, not feeling the sting. This year is going to be tough. Boys, inside voices please, and personally, I'd say my lessons are fair. Right, yeah. Sorry, Mrs. Murray. Sorry, Mom. Darren lifted his fuzzy black earmuffs off his head using hands covered in fuzzy black gloves. He was in this classroom this day, and he'd be able to hear quieter words better without that too. For the first time, Darren noticed there were 2 more people in the room. That made his smile flatten. You'd expected you would see new kids today. Darren didn't think about that. He tried to figure out what to do or think or feel now that it had happened. Tamarack saying who she was so she could jump right into Darren's face on her tiptoes. As far as kids went, Darren was as tall as Tamarack was short. Mom? You said she's your mom? A teacher is your mom? It didn't matter that you talked about Mrs. Murray having kids before you got there, or that a lot happened to show that Darren was definitely her son. Having the kid of a teacher in front of her was too unbelievable for Tamarack. And that made Darren decide what to think about this meeting. He didn't like it at all. His face soured and he backed away from Tamarack without thinking, like a giant fluffy bumblebee was coming to get him. Tamarack didn't let him get far from her. Yeah, Tamarack, she's his mom. Wow. Don't follow Darren like that. Hey, leave him alone. What? Why? He doesn't like it, that's why. Yeah. Don't follow Darren like that. She was totally serious with the idea. It wasn't a rule, it was a law. Tamarack listened to it better than if it had came from an actual teacher. Oh. Aw. Tamarack deflated to stand like normal again and stopped scurrying towards Darren. He still didn't stop staring at her. Darren was too afraid of what she might do next to look away. The whole thing made Chu sigh. It was an accident, though, because he sucked in another breath super fast after. Then he smiled again like it never happened. Oh, hey, everybody's got to meet each other for real now. We do? Yeah, we do. He used his own tiptoes and smoothly twirled around the shift from Tamarack's side to Darren's. This is Mr. Darren Murray. Chu hooked an arm around Darren's stiff shoulders. The warm embrace got Darren all soft. He melted over Autumn and their heads bumped together. The two were as close as could be. He's my friend in 12, 2 years older than us. Autumn proudly put up a peace sign that probably just meant 2. Remember that road right out from our cul-de-sac? Darren lives there. His house is the yellow one with the dark brown fence. We're almost neighbors. That's how we know each other. Yeah, the big hill, I know that. You'd pass a lot of homes on your way to school. You guessed people had to live in them, but you always figured you would meet a person before seeing where they lived. It was kind of weird thinking you'd gone by his place before you ever knew who Mr. Darren Murray was. Chu tilted his face so he was nose to nose with the boy down the street. That's what I've got to tell you. These are my new neighbors. What? Both of them? I thought only one kid was coming. The poor kid was more confused than ever. Tamarack could shock people even when she didn't try to. Chu came to the rescue. His arm slid off Darren's shoulders to pat him soothingly on the back instead. Both of them. Autumn used his other hand to nudge a finger towards the girl of many surprises. That one is Miss Tamarack 𝐕𝐢𝐬𝐮. Granny is her actual grandma. She lives in the gray house now. It was easier for Chu to explain what happened now. If Darren had been there yesterday, he could have seen Chu's flurry when he found out Tamarack was there. Is that what you had to do to sound smart? Act like you always knew something to people who couldn't tell the difference? Maybe it was a Chu thing. It did work for him. Darren listened to his friend's wisdom amazed. And that, like a tiny showman in front of an audience with one person in it, Chu uncurled his fingers and held his open palm out towards you, is MX Mishka Rose. She's a girl. She is the one who moved into the empty middle house with her mom. We all met yesterday. Can I just please change this? Please. I'm dying, too. Hold on. Dress up care? Yeah. Please, I want to change it. And in the real world, Darren had to look down to see Chu. It was a plain fact. He had to look down on every kid in your grade. But in the shine of his dipped eyes, you could be tricked into thinking Darren was looking up at Autumn. That's how much the older boy admired the younger one. The light went away when Darren glanced over the two people Chu had introduced. All that was there was an uncomfortable skepticism. I think you're cute. He thought it'd be nice to say, but Darren squinched his face and turned away as if he called him a dumb scarecrow. No. Chu chuckled at that, playfully shoving his pal in the chest. Tamarack flapped a hand fast in a wave. It'd be like the buzzing wing of a bee. She kept feeling like that around Derek, but you didn't think it was on purpose. Hi, Darren. His features stayed squished. The awkward way Darren was with people still didn't get Tamarack to back down or even slow down. She had thoughts that needed to be said. You're both wearing orange sweaters. Tamarack stopped her fluttering by clasping her hands together over this important revelation. Darren curled his fingers too, gripping tight around the earmuffs he was still holding. She hadn't said it teasingly, not like the silly kind of teasing Chu did, but he was bothered by it for some reason. Yeah, we both like orange. It was a short answer and a very serious one. The whole time Derek hadn't said one word to respond to Tamarack until now. Now when she asked about his mom said hi. Talking about the same color clothes though couldn't be ignored. Orange is good, one of the top colors. Chu cut into whatever was going on, nodding wisely. But do you know what my favorite color is? How would I know that? Because I think it's pretty obvious. It's brown. For the second time, he gestured over at Tamarack, but not just any part of her. Autumn pointed toward her mop of sparkly hair. It's golden. That's the best color there is. Did you have anything gold to wear? You're gonna have to check. Oh. My favorite colors are purple, pink, red, yellow, and orange. That's a lot of favorites. It's probably about half the colors there are, but alright. Wait, and also, every color 𝐕𝐲 likes is my favorite too. What? Tamarack was so sweet. She'd appreciate you no matter what. Compared to Tamarack shouting, Derek responded with a peep. He still didn't want to talk to her, but misunderstandings about color ranking couldn't be made either. Red is my real favorite. Orange is still cool. At that point, everybody had talked about colors they liked except for you. Listen to my favorites too. Yeah? What are they? Oh, I like red and blue and gold and rainbow, and that's it. Yeah, me too. Okay. What? Chu took his trusty notebook out of his pocket. A pencil came with it. He flicked the pages open and began to scribble right there in the middle of the room during a conversation with people. Why are you doing that? School is over. I'm writing down your favorite colors. I want to remember that. The question was answered and it completely confused her. It made sense to you that she didn't get it. Tamarack didn't write down stuff even when class was happening because she doesn't know how to write. Okay. A yelp cut her own plain reaction, confused by normal things and confusing to normal people. That was Tamarack. You're using your other hand. The left one, yep, that's my good hand. Wow. Tamarack ran out of words to blurt out, and Derek didn't want to do anything on his own, and not with you either. It had to be Chu. So the three of you waited there as the scratchy sound of Chu's writing went on. The more letters Chu added to his notebook, the more his friend shifted uncomfortably. Hey, Autumn, you're coming to my house today, right? Yeah, I am. That was the third quick and direct answer Chu gave while busy with his task, but it had a big impact on Darren. He smiled relieved. The promise made up for all the stuff Darren hadn't enjoyed since he walked into the classroom and had two new people become a little part of his life. Making a long dash across the paper, probably to underline something, Chu finished off his note to himself and his reply to Darren. Now that Sharky and Tamarack are here, I've got to make sure they can get to the neighborhood, but I can do that and go to your house. The worn brown book and pencil were tucked into Chu's pocket. He didn't watch what he was doing. You did, and this time the papers fell out. It was good to see him not have any problems. You'd just been a little worried it happened again. It's not just gonna be me and Darren, you know. One more is coming too. We've got plans. It's been worked out for weeks that we'd all get together after the first day of school. She was popular in the class and with people out of it. Okay, if that's what he could do, you'd have to do that too. And because of that, Darren, can you go get that guy? He's gonna be standing around outside, not knowing where to go. You can bring him right to the room. Darren sunk his neck deeper into the tall collar that surrounded it, trying not to be called on in class after it was already too late. I don't wanna. His voice had gotten even more raspy when he spoke then. Every bit of Darren protested the idea. Oh, come on, you're the fastest of everybody. Chu, on the other hand, was bold and brave. He sincerely sung Darren's praises to encourage his friend, then more quietly added a verse of his own success. With running anyway, on bikes, I'm the best. Did you know I've got a mountain bike? It has silver paint splatters and the tires have these big treads. It's so fast, you'd be amazed. But besides, we both can't go. Tamarack and Sharky are here. Do you want to stay with them by yourself while I get them? Darren's eyes closed and he grimaced. If he was looking, he would have been able to stop himself from glancing at you and Tamarack. You could tell that that's where his not seeing face turned. And he didn't want to do that either. If he couldn't even handle seeing you both too closely, staying alone with you and Tamarack didn't seem achievable for Darren. Chu knew it. I'll go. He placed the earmuffs back on his head as if he was donning armor before a battle, resigned but resolute. Cool, see you. Yeah, bye. Bye. After Darren sprinted through the door, you doubted he'd be following the no running in the hall rule. And that is where I'm going to leave today's episode, everyone. So, okay, so we met, we had our first day of class today, and we met a new character. Oh my god. So yeah, that was, oh my god, it's so nice to be back in this game. I wish Chu would flirt with us. Like, why? Come on, just flirt. I know they're like in 5th grade, but come on, y'all. I need someone. Come on. But yeah, everyone, that's all for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, we will be continuing this next episode, like I said, obviously. But yeah, for Our Life Beginnings and Always, I might do that first, and then we can do another episode of this. Yeah. So yeah, that's the plan. But thank you all so much for watching, and but yeah. But lastly, you're Jim, and thank you for watching. A wonderful day, everyone. Bye.